Hello, I'm Jonathan Bowman-Perks and welcome back to my favourite time of the week. I'm here with CEO of STEM and Glory, Louise Palmer-Masterton, and Louise has 3 STEM and Glories around the country, but this is the flagship here in St Barts Square, and it's my favourite restaurant. I come here a lot. And I asked to meet up with Louise and her amazing team, who are very helpful. It's a very can-do kind of restaurant where they make you feel very welcome. But I asked Louise about sort of advice and tips for us all about health, life, and also particularly the link with eating well and yoga. So what would be some of your tips, Louise, to the audience?
Yeah, well, obviously I'm a proponent of the plant-based diet, and I think now most people are quite accepting of the fact that it is a far healthier way to be. You know, you've got lots of reasons really, so whatever kind of your reasons are, whether it's animals, health or environment, I think all of us can relate to one of those really.
Yeah.
We've got an increasing amount of celebrity support for the plant-based movement at the moment. I found out recently that Lewis Hamilton is also vegan.
Yeah.
Increasing amount of endurance athletes as well on a plant-based diet. So the idea that vegans are all weaklings is finally kind of diminishing. And more every day people are willing to make, maybe not 100% plant-based diet, but make more of a move towards more plant-based eating. So lessening the amount of non-plant-based foods they eat.
Because actually, my own journey, I haven't shared it with you all, but when I had the cancer scare and was told I had a 50% chance of cancer, in that period of sort of 2 weeks while I was waiting to hear the results of the biopsy, I read widely about 4 books. One is How Not to Die by Dr. Michael Greger, which you know well. The other one was the China study, which was a huge study done into people living in China with heart disease and cancers and the link to what they ate. And then the anti-cancer book by Dr. David Savan-Schreiber. And then another book called Whole by Colin T. Campbell. And this was evidence-based nutrition, which is why I've switched across to whole food, plant-based, non-dairy. And actually during that time, which has only been about 8 weeks, the acute asthma that I had with an inhaler every morning, and I had antihistamine pills the doctor had given me, I gave all that up and it's not returned.
In just 8 weeks?
In just 8 weeks. I gave it up after just about a week of being non-dairy. I had a lot of eggs. I used to, work out and have eggs and that kind of stuff, and yogurts, and that's all gone. But what do you find are the benefits as well of that combination of whole food plus yoga as a way of life?
Yeah, I mean the two things are kind of interweaved.
Yeah.
Yoga, vegetarianism, the whole kind of holistic approach of yoga is that it's the mind and body connection. So the practices of hatha yoga, which is the practice of posture, is very much about making the body fit in order that the mind can also be healthy. So if you think about it, having an unfit body unhealthy and a fit mind is probably it's not possible to do that. So in terms of the practices of yoga, because when people think of yoga they automatically think of postures, but the reality is that yoga is a much bigger discipline than that, and it's really all about the mind. But the practices of hatha yoga, posture practice, is really about making the body a fit vessel for the spirit to reside in.
Yep.
So if you approach it like that, so the body is fit, the body is strong, and then the mind can be strong. But really ultimately you're looking at congruence between the mind and the body, and that's where the kind of true benefits of yoga lie.
Yeah.
And the plant-based movement is very much a big part of that. It's all about
working restaurant.
It's all about compassion as well, and if you think about compassion, it's compassion to others. People will always think of that, but compassion to self is a very big part of that, and looking after yourself, well-being, eating the right foods, taking exercise, is all about compassion to self. And be kind to yourself, be kind to others.
Well, I found during this period of since I started 8 weeks ago as a whole food plant-based diet, I also did my triathlon during that time, and actually I felt fitter and healthier. My brain's a lot clearer than I have been before. But I think that the whole thing for all of you who are watching this video, clearly diet is a very personal thing, and it's got to be what's right for you, and not everybody is exactly the same. But there is, I find with this evidence-based nutrition, whole amount of research where a lot more people are starting to actually want to have less animal protein in their life until eventually they take it out completely, and finding ways of keeping up their health and well-being. And this misinformation that if you eat vegetarian or vegan that you'll be a weakling, that kind of stuff, is clearly wrong. And I'm actually finding I'm stronger and healthier than ever before. What's your view?
I absolutely agree with you. More people that expose this to be not true, the better, really, and more kind of, I'd say, normal people as well, is what needs to happen. Because veganism was kind of a fringe movement, which it isn't anymore. But what you say about evidence-based is really important, because we live in the age of science and everything has to be evidence-based, but there are increasing amounts of compelling evidence for all of it, really, the health, the environment, that it's a very good idea for us to eat less meat and dairy and more plant-based foods. But also, that in itself is not in isolation if you look at health, because health is not just about eating plant-based, it's about eating unprocessed foods as well. And if you think about the environmental cost, that also has an impact with that too, because anything that's processed obviously has a far higher carbon footprint. So you want natural products, unprocessed, low carbohydrate as well in terms of refined carbohydrates. So try and seek carbohydrate sources from natural products. Like, for example, a sweet potato has a carbohydrate content, but a white loaf of bread is processed and it's refined carbohydrate. High GI foods, that's where all that stuff with type 2 diabetes is implicated as well, and increasing amounts of evidence on that at the moment. And I really see in the next sort of 5 to 10 years how that, because one of the biggest costs to the National Health Service is type 2 diabetes. Yeah. And if they can really encourage people to lessen their refined carbohydrates now, you'll see a big effect in 5 to 10 years' time.
It's a really big problem. My brother's a surgeon in the NHS, and my nephew and niece are both doctors. And heart disease is one big problem, which of course is very heavily linked to animal protein. And also some of the mental illnesses, the Alzheimer's, the early onset dementia, are not helped by the wrong kind of diet. Too much processed food, too much white flour, too much sugar. Because sugar, people have masses of that. So it's about eating clean if you're going to go vegetarian or vegan, not because you can be vegan but really unhealthy by eating lots of bread and all the crisps and things like that. Oh, this is vegan, but it's actually got to be clean. It's got to be good food that gives you lots of nutrition and energy.
Well, there's a huge movement towards vegan junk food. You probably see it in London. I mean, there's lots and lots of vegan burger joints, like deep fried seitan, which is basically gluten. There is a place for this, of course, but a lot of the time when people are seeking plant-based alternatives, they're seeking plant-based alternatives to traditional things like burgers and fried things, and I think there will come a point where that has to sort of shift, really, if people want to have a healthy future. There's nothing wrong with occasional indulgence, but yeah, good. I mean, it sounds boring, but hopefully it's not, because we cook delicious food that is also healthy, and I think that's the direction that it's moving in.
I think it is. It's what I've found is living so close to your restaurant, Stem and Glory, has been a joy to me, because it's allowed me to have really delicious food rather than trying to do it all myself. I cook myself vegan food, but I do find having a good restaurant is very helpful. So look, Louise, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I hope people have found this interesting. I'm sure it will stimulate some of the old die-hard friends of mine in the army. Goes, what? Not eating your beef Wellington? Come on, and go drink your milk and have that lip on the top. It's do the evidence-based reading of it. But thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Much appreciated.